Andrew, thank you for doing this interview. So it's been 3 years since you've first been arrested, December 2022. Now, after 3 years, there's no trial. Moreover, you're still free to go wherever you want. You just came back from Dubai. What's the story behind your arrest? What's the real story? What happened on December 2022?
Yeah, I think when I was first arrested, a lot of people knew something was suspicious. It turns out the British Foreign Office wrote to the Romanians, and the Brits said, this guy is too powerful, he has too much influence over our youth, can you do something about it? And unfortunately, the Romanians happily obliged. I was never guilty of anything. I'd never done anything wrong. There was never any victims. There was never any evidence. I'm a victim of the system. And the system in many countries around the world now, we're entering a dark age where in basically every democratic country that you can name, the system is being weaponized against political opponents, and unfortunately I was one of them. So I suffered jail, endless house arrest, all for it to fade to nothing in the end.
First you were arrested, you said, the Matrix has attacked me. Who is Matrix? Because people talk all the time about the deep state, about George Soros' influence, his influence around the world. What's the Matrix?
Yeah, the Matrix did attack me. And we have sources of influence in the world. We obviously have the media machine, we have the banking and the money, and then there's some individuals with large amounts of influence also, and I was one of them. And whenever you have different powers competing for influence over the minds of the youth, there's going to be a degree of combativeness, there's going to be a degree of confrontation. So there are certain ideas that the school system, the educational system, the banking system, the media system, all of these ideas are being pushed on the youth, and because I was pushing a different idea, they decided I had to be punished. To answer exactly who the Matrix is, it's a difficult one to surmise succinctly and shortly, but there are people in charge of the world who want to ensure that most people stay asleep and stay slaves, that they pay taxes and never get ahead, and believe the lies they are told. And if you're anywhere near the truth, or you're anywhere near waking people up to the reality of how this world functions, then you're going to soon learn that law in and of itself is a weapon.
Who runs the world?
I'd say that money runs the world. And we have huge pools of transnational finance, which goes beyond any specific country. And these huge pools of transnational finance don't like the idea of nationalism, for example. Let's imagine there was a nationalistic candidate in Romania. Let's imagine there was a guy who cared about Romania and he really wanted Romania to do well. Well, that means he's going to put Romania and Romanians above international money. And the people with the international money don't want that. They want to make sure that nobody believes or loves their country, or nobody cares about the street they live in, and nobody cares about their culture, nobody cares about their language. They want to just convince you that we're all the same. And it doesn't matter if you're from Romania, or it doesn't matter if you're from India. You're all the same because you're all slaves, because you all pay taxes. So it doesn't matter to us. And if you were a nationalist who tried to do the right thing for Romania, the big powers with the transnational money would teach you a lesson. So who runs the world are the select group of people who have money everywhere, which means they have influence everywhere. And when you understand the scale, the balance, if you have two pieces of gold on a scale, it can move either way. These people who have money everywhere primarily make money from money. Not many people understand this. It's a miracle to take numbers on a screen and turn it into more numbers on a screen. No factory, not producing anything, not building anything, not making anything, just turning money into money. Well, how do you do that? You do that with banking, you do that by longing and shorting the stock market, and you do that by manipulation. So if you want to turn money into money, you have to make sure that on the scale for your money to go up, someone else's money must go down. And if you have enough power, enough control, transnational, you have the ability to affect governments in different places, you can choose who goes down and who goes up to make sure you win the bet. And I would argue that we're witnessing right now the Middle East becoming more and more powerful and more wealthy, and Europe getting poorer and poorer.
But why is Europe getting poorer?
Well, I would argue that for the longest period of modern history, banking history at least, the second and third world were being exploited for the benefit of Europe, right? We decided to take the natural resources from Africa, from India, from the Middle East, and make Europe rich. That's how the scale worked. We took from them and we made Europe rich. But now we've reached a point where they can make a lot more money, making Europe poor, and making the other places rich. And Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, these are beautiful countries. Nice, big, beautiful house, very safe, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're a transnationalist, you don't care. You don't care about Romania. You don't care about Switzerland. You don't care about Germany. You care about money. So if you can make money by destroying Europe and you can live somewhere else, then you're going to do it. In every equation, there's a winner and a loser. And Europe was winning for a very long time. And now the people in charge of all the international finance have decided that Europe should lose because it's going to make them more money. If you're a person who's stuck in Romania or stuck in Italy, then that's very bad for you. But if you have a yacht and a private jet and you can live anywhere on the planet and you get to make money from nowhere, from the sky, do you really care? Even if you come to Romania, even if things get bad here, you still go to the nicest resort, you go to the nicest hotel with private security. Does it matter to you? No, you don't live here. You don't pay the taxes here. You don't care. Why would you care? So there's these huge pools of international money. And very simply, for them to win one place, they have to lose for them to win, someone has to lose somewhere else. And I believe they've decided it's time for Europe to lose.
I know billionaires, they don't care about Romania as well because we have NGOs founded by billionaires. Like we had examples like George Soros. He has so many NGOs here in Romania, he founds them, and they don't care about the benefit of our country.
That's right. Their primary objective is control. I mean, control and making as much money as possible. And this is always very unfortunate for the person on the ground. But the world actually makes a lot more sense when you understand that some of the bad things that are happening, especially in Europe, none of them are accidental. You don't accidentally bring in a whole bunch of people who think differently to you, and you don't accidentally bring in a whole bunch of people who commit crime, and you don't accidentally make it too expensive for people to live. None of this is accidental. All of this is very purposeful. If you placed a bet on roulette, black or red, and you could affect where the ball lands, you'd make sure you win the bet. So if you're going to short the euro, if you're going to make the euro go down, if you're going to make Eurozone go poorer and Middle East get richer, and you're going to make a bet for trillions of dollars, aren't you going to affect that bet? Aren't you going to say, well, how do I make sure my bet wins? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to destroy the place. They don't care. Why would they care? There are huge pools of international finance which are in charge of everything. They're in charge of the media. They're in charge of the politics. They're in charge of the education system. They're in charge of the medical system. They're in charge of everything. And if you tell people this, like I am, and like I do, they use their weapon against you, and they have two weapons. Three weapons primarily. One is the media to insult you and tell everyone you're crazy. Secondly is the legal system to throw you in jail. And if none of them work, well, we saw what happened to Charlie. You get shot in the neck.
Who do you think actually was behind Charlie Kirk's assassination? Because there was a 22-year-old guy who was arrested, but do you think he's the only one behind this crime, or there are some other people behind?
I think the official story we're ever told about anything is always nearly a lie. I think that anyone who believes that the people in charge of the world are interested in educating them is awfully arrogant. It takes a huge degree of narcissism to sit there and go, well, the news told me this. The news doesn't care about what you know because the news doesn't care about you. They want you to believe certain things. So why do they want us to believe this story? Well, I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to get shot either.
We've seen what happened with BBC and Donald Trump. They faked that documentary about him, his statement, and now...
That's right, absolutely. It's all propaganda.
They did the same with you, the BBC.
Oh, of course. They did it with me endlessly, the BBC. And you're probably one of the only honest journalists I've ever met because even here in Romania, I was going in and out of court every day for 4 years, and they're screaming about human trafficking. And I kept saying to them, guys, hello, wait, stop. Who? Stop saying the word human trafficking. Tell me who. Show me a girl. And they're all like, like, are you retarded? Like, are you retarded? Like, if you say there's a fire, I say, where? No, there's a big fire. Where? Oh, no, nowhere. What are we talking about here? So, you know, I like to think that people are getting awakened and starting to understand more and more they're living in an empire of lies. The people in charge of the world are not interested in telling anybody the truth. They're interested in keeping everybody asleep long enough to pay taxes so they can steal. This is all just endless resource extraction, you know? And the elites want to make sure they have as much power and control as possible, which means they need money, one, and two, they need people to believe things that aren't true. And that's why they're constantly pushing them.
Many people who are not supporting, who are not behind this globalist agenda were attacked. Like there were Donald Trump, you, Pavel Durov. Who else do you think was, and who do you think will be attacked by this matrix they're calling?
Anybody who has genuine concern for their people, anyone who has genuine concern for things other than money for the elites will be attacked. So we live in an upside down world now. It's very easy to see who the good guy is and who the bad guy is because the good guy's under attack. And the guy they're saying, oh, he's great, he's the bad guy. It's that simple. Anyone the system supports is bad and anyone the system hates is good. So when people sit and say, Andrew Tate's a bad person because I saw him on the news, well, then you're an idiot. Then you're an idiot. And there's not much that can be done about you. Unfortunately, you're stupid. Anyone with a functioning brain will look at what happened to me and go away. He must be telling the truth because there was no reason for them to do that to him. There was no fire. So what was all that fanfare about? What was all that story about? What was all the jail about? What was it for? Well, it's simply to try and damage my influence because they don't want people to listen to me. When I talk, they don't want people to say, wow, what he says makes sense. They want people to say, but he's a human trafficker. They want to attach allegations to my name to detract from my ideas. And it's pretty obvious and see-through, but a lot of people are very stupid. And that's how we end up where we are.
This system ever came to you and tried to make a deal with you?
Yes. And the deal's done with money. They come to me and they offer me a sponsorship contract. They say, look, we're going to give you $50 million. We're going to sponsor you from this brand, but we don't want anything bad to happen to the brand. So you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this. So they try and make you quiet for money, which is why most celebrities don't speak the truth, because they're taking a whole bunch of money. I declined, and 3 months later I was in jail.
When you say they, who exactly is they?
Well, it's the transnational finance, the people who are in charge of the money across country borders, own companies that operate in many different borders. They own brands, they own the food you eat, they own the clothes you wear, they own the cars you drive, they own the energy you use, they own all of it. So they can just choose any random brand. They can choose any sportswear brand or jewelry brand, a watch brand, whatever. And they can say, offer him this much money, promise to put him on posters, promise to make him famous as long as he shuts up. And I didn't shut up. I became very famous. They offered me a whole bunch of money to be quiet. I didn't think it was the right thing for me to do, to be quiet. I continued to talk, and they taught me a lesson, or they attempted to.
You moved to Romania many years ago.
Yep.
Do you think if you moved then to other country, maybe in the West, your situation would have been better or worse?
You know, I've really pondered this at length. I've thought deeply about whether it was good or bad that they caught me in Romania with this matrix attack. And it's hard to come to a conclusive answer. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. But it's just the way the things worked out. I came to Romania completely randomly. It was such a strange place for me to move to. Nobody understood why I came here. Nobody else had anything good to say about Romania. I was a fantastic ambassador for Romania. And of course they betrayed me in the end anyway. So it is what it is. But if I had been caught up in the system in America, would it be any better? I don't know. The systems everywhere are getting dangerously corrupted. And that's what's so scary. If I were to say to you, where would you trust a court case? Would you trust an American court?
No.
Would you trust a Romanian court?
Not necessarily.
So where do you want to go to court to fight for your life? Because we're at a point now where it's like nowhere. I don't think any court is fair anymore. Because none of the elections are fair. And none of the banking is fair. So what do you do, right? I mean, Romania has its problems. But America has its problems. American courts are extremely politically charged, depending what state you're in, depending whether it's Democrat, Republican. If you're known as Democrat, Republican, it's very political. Here it's maybe not so political. When you go to court, they don't care who you voted for so much. But Romania has all of its own problems. We've seen what's happened in some recent court cases in Romania, which is extremely shocking. So humans are fallible, and the systems are corrupted, and everyone's just trying to take as much money as they can. The Titanic has hit the iceberg, which is Europe. And everyone's trying to get all the gold out the safe before they get on a lifeboat. And everyone's going to be leaving. I don't think Europe's going to be getting any better in the next 10 years. I think everyone's going to be trying to move to Dubai. And it's a scary time to be alive. It's a scary time to try and plan a future. It's a scary time to try and find stability. It's a scary time to try and, plan the next 10 years or 15 years. It's a scary time to have children. It's a scary time to build a business. It's a scary time to buy a house. It's a scary time to do anything because you need to have maximum flexibility in the world right now. Because no one knows what's going to happen.
You definitely know Donald Trump family. You supported him in the election last year. You know things.
Yep.
1 year ago, we had our elections cancelled.
Yep.
From your informations, what do you think happened here in Romania? Because definitely you know people.
Well, I don't need another criminal case. I think it's very strange that the prosecutor who put an indictment in against George is the same guy who put an indictment in against me. It's interesting that we had the same prosecutor. Maybe it's like he has a job to do, this prosecutor. I don't know. Maybe this prosecutor is the guy who comes after the people who talk. I don't know. but he had the same prosecutor as me, which was very interesting. I think what happened is that democracy as an idea, that the people have power, is no longer true. And they'll do anything it takes to make sure the people don't actually have any genuine power. The people with the power are the people with the money, and the money want to make more money, and they want to make more money without doing any real work, and they do that by turning money into money. And when you're going to turn money into money, the only way to do that is to exploit someone else. So the average person has to get exploited, so they can't let the average person have any political power, can they? I don't think it's Romania only. I think all of Europe right now, there's something strange happening in all the elections.
Yeah, but what exactly?
Well, I'll ask you a question. To try and avoid another criminal case, let me ask you a question. If you were to play basketball...
Don't put me in trouble.
Well, if you were to play a basketball game, if me and you were to go play basketball, and there was no referee, what would happen?
We can do whatever we want.
Well, people would cheat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if we would cheat to play a basketball game, you think people won't cheat to control a country? I mean, a basketball game doesn't even matter. We're talking about controlling the lives of millions of people. We're talking about billions of dollars in tax revenue. We're talking about military. We're talking about army. We're talking about something matters, something big. If people will cheat for no reason in a stupid basketball game, do you think people will cheat when it comes to controlling a country? Probably. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
It might cross their mind, huh?
If you'd go back in time, many years ago when you moved here, would you still come to Romania?
10 years ago, Romania, I felt, was one of the best countries in the world. But then also 10 years ago, all of Europe was a better place. I'm glad I came here. I'm glad, you know.
We're still one of the safest countries in Europe.
Oh, absolutely. You're still very, very much one of the safest countries. There's a lot of good things about Romania. There's good people, good-hearted people. You're still majorly, you're still homogenous, but that's changing fast. As they keep importing all these people, the crime will come and everything will break down. But if the Romanian people don't do anything to stop it, then that's what's going to happen, like it happened in France, Germany, England. It's a beautiful place, beautiful nature, good-hearted people. I'm very glad I came here. I'm glad God put me on this path, and I don't regret anything that happened to me. And I've had a lot of happy times in Romania, so yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Did you ever had any problems with Romanian people while traveling around the country, because you're traveling a lot?
Never. Romanian people are very nice to me. I'm very nice to them. I think it's a beautiful country full of good people. And as much as we can complain about the system here, like I said, the systems everywhere are bad. So it's getting really scary.
So since we are on the Romania National Day, do you have any message now for the Romanians?
La multi ani. Is that how you say it? La multi ani, Romania?
Mulți ani.
La multi ani, Romania, December 1st. It's also my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
You're turning 39?
39.
39. Wish you happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And it's been pretty pessimistic, but we can try and be positive. I think that love is the answer to everything, and I think that truth is the answer to everything. And I think as much as possible, people need to talk to each other, explain the truth, ignore the lies, and make it clear to the people in charge that we don't believe them. And if we do that en masse, you'd be surprised how much power we can take back.